Good morning, and there's reason to be cheerful on this morning. I woke up to hear birds singing. I can't remember the last time it sounded so bright and loud. On top of that, I've had an awful cold over the weekend, but my daughter kept playing some 80s jams, which made it all the more enjoyable. And there's reasons to be cheerful all around. For some, those reasons include schools reopening on March the 8th. But that won't be cheerful for all. Let's look at that a little bit closer today. Things not to expect. Yes, if we listen to the media, we should all be going, hey, schools are reopening, and, just be cheerful to have our time back and be able to manage work a little better with childcare. However, from a child's point of view, I want to alert you to manage your expectations. Managing your expectations is very, very important at this time. Do not expect any wild and explosive shows of progress just from being back into the classroom. And do not expect smiles from every child. So that's 2 do nots. But do enjoy, because it will give you that separation, which is always good in any relationship, because it adds that freshness and things to discuss when the child gets home from school, and excitement and seeing their friends and all of those things. But from an actual education and enlightening those children's point of view, it's important to think about this. Progress is not going to happen as quickly as you expect it to. For one, schools will go back into this, what do they call it, catch-up curriculum, which is designed to ensure that all students have the learning that they should have in the current academic year that they're in. Okay, so they should have covered certain topics. The curriculum will slow down to enable those children to catch up to those topics. But as we've always said, with the education system, the traditional system is broken in that it is designed as a one-size-fits-all. We have to consider those who have been unable to access the learning during lockdown, but we also have to consider those that have been able to, who, for the most part, get bored in a catch-up curriculum because they're being given things that they know already. And even if they haven't been able to access the learning, some kids are just ahead of themselves anyway. So it shouldn't be the case that they have to go back and then be bored. Maybe that catch-up curriculum needs a little bit more thought so that it's actually inclusive to all learning abilities. So those who were not able to access it are able to access some work when they go back, so that those who have learning needs are able to access learning. For those who are a little bit more advanced in their learning, that they stay engaged, because as we know, engagement is key. We know a lot these days, don't we? Notice how many times I've said, as we know, because we know these things, yet we get all excited about change, a change to the lockdown procedures, and then we expect more than we are actually given. So manage those expectations. Again, it's a mindset thing. I've spoken to a few year 11s and year 13s this week, and for the most part, they're not in the mindset to go back now, because they don't know how they're going to motivate themselves to go back into the classroom to learn topics which they may or may not be assessed on because there's still no clarity on what the assessment in the summer is going to be based on. Mr. Gavin Williamson, please make it clear. Will there be a mini exam marked by teachers or not, or will it be based purely on teacher assessment? My understanding and my discussion with the kids has been around the idea that whether or not the mini exams come in, there's still going to have to be some standardisation. We can't just give out grades across the country to people who have accessed learning in different ways. There has to be a level of standardisation involved there. It would just be lovely to be able to give them some clarity on what that will look like, because that will help to motivate them to be able to do the work once they go back in the classroom. Otherwise, we're in for a few issues there. Remember, these are young people who are starting their lives, so they need that clarity to be able to design and have an idea about what they're aiming at. They're only human, they're not robots. We can't have a one-size-fits-all in any way. The mindset is important. Tony Robbins has spoken about it. Many key coaches have spoken about this. It is a mindset issue if they're going to aim for success. Do not be confused with the fact that they are young. We always use that phrase, oh, they're young, they'll work their way through it. Absolutely not. They need as much help as we need to be able to set targets and aim for those targets, and really to rebuild a mindset which has been damaged by the pandemic procedures, by the lockdowns which have been necessary. Their minds are not in the same place they were before. Just because they're young, let's not dismiss them. Now, for my second point about don't expect smiles from everybody. Now, I can tell you now from my own personal experience that my child is not necessarily happy about going back, because he's settled himself into a new structure and settled himself into learning every day in a different way. I would say it's not the time to change that yet, until we're certain that there will be no lockdown number 4. Because this in, out of schools is not helping our young people one little bit. They have young minds which are little sponges and ready to soak up so many different ideas. But they need to know what they're doing. They need to be able to understand how their day is structured and what they will be able to do when. It's all in the setting of boundaries. Contrary to popular belief, kids love boundaries. They love to know exactly where they're going and what they're doing and how they're going to get there. When we take that away from them, we're putting them right back at the beginning, and then they're not going to be happy. It's about time that they had that opportunity. It's not even about just the latest one, oh, they just need to play. I think that's a little bit dismissive of the mind of a child, that they just need to play. Yes, they need to play. Yes, they need outdoors, but they also need structure and boundaries, which many have been able to get at home, but I concede that some have not been able to get that. So some will be happy to have their boundaries reset at school. Some will be unhappy to have their boundaries unset from home and then reset at school and having to rebalance themselves that way. So don't expect smiles and cheerfulness from everybody. It won't come from everybody. It won't come from every child. But we can never please everybody, can we? What we've got to really focus on is that children are little people. Their mindsets, their mental health is as important as everything else. Yes, we need to get back to work. Yes, we need to focus. But yes, they need to be able to feel confident and motivated for a long, long time. And they need to enjoy the process of education in whichever way that it's presented to them. Maybe it's time to start thinking about reform of the traditional system, reform of GCSEs, reform of A-levels, reform of the way that we move through the system towards our careers. Maybe that is the answer that we're looking for. Maybe that is what we will discuss next week. So, in the meantime, if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, forward to your friends, get them watching. I'm here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. On jgeducate.com should you need any help with any matters to do with education. I'm happy to give you a free, no obligation discussion. jgeducate.com. It's warming up, folks. Let's go out there, have a positive week. Enjoy.